Hello, you lovely cups. It's your boy, the Dragon Lord here, back again with another What If. Now, today we are doing What If Tanjiro had the power of the Bread Boys, and this was requested by the legendary Crusader in my Discord server, which you can join in the link in the description. Now, before I start, I will quickly go over some of Tanjiro's powers, and I would like to say that he won't get these powers right off the bat. So I'm gonna quickly go over the powers. If you want to skip, there should be a number on the screen to that if you don't want to hear these powers. So to start off, he is immortal, which if you don't know, he can't die. So pretty OP. He has the power to summon weapons out of thin air, but he can only summon a set amount of specific weapons. So the weapons he can summon are a pump action shotgun as well as a desert eagle, a sword and shield. He is able to summon an M4 and he is able to do magic, which we will give him the 4 basic elements because why not? He can summon a belt that can bend steel, and that's pretty much it. The M4 was not told to me by the Pope or the legendary Crusader, but in our server he's the Pope. Because I asked him like the overall powers, and because I didn't know the Bread Boys until he came along, and I I started watching their videos and I saw that they can summon him in 4, so I'm gonna give him that power. Also, check out the Bread Boys. Link will be in the description. Also, if Tanjiro is around a crucifix, rosary, or holy water, his power will strengthen a lot. But anyway, hello and welcome back if you skipped. Now, before I start, there is one piece of vital information left, which I will tell you now before the what if will start. The village near the mountain that Tanjiro lives at would support both Buddhism and Christianity. His mother, Kie, would become a Christian and decide to teach Tanjiro Christianity. And with that out of the way, let's get into it. It's a cold winter night, and a tired Tanjiro opens his eyes slowly as he sees his father dancing in the snow. As he asks his mother how his father can dance like that, she explained that it's a dance, but the young boy would fall back asleep. Winter would go by pretty quickly, and the young Tanjiro and his sister would try to imitate his father's movements. Together with his little sister, his father tells him to remember to breathe, and as long as he breathes, he can keep fighting. The young boy taking these words to heart, of course. A few days would go by, and his mother would take him down to the village. They would go to a church in the village. This would be the first time for both Tanjiro and Nezuko to go to the church. The priest would say hello to Kie and the two kids. Tanjiro would smile, and then upon seeing Tanjiro smile, the priest would sense something in Tanjiro. As he gets interested, he proposes an offer to Kie to teach Tanjiro the ways. He, knowing that this is a huge honor, decides to let him teach Tanjiro and Nezuko. And Nezuko would be mad by this, since she wouldn't want to spend time without Tanjiro, so the priest offered to teach her too. The priest teaches Tanjiro a lot of things about God and the world in general, as he would show Tanjiro a lot of things. He would actually tell Tanjiro about the demons, but he would word it in a way where Tanjiro would know what he's talking about. 2 or so years pass, and Tanjiro, who prays pretty much every day, is kind of in shock. His father would be in terrible condition, as his father would tell Tanjiro to take his kimono and earrings when his father would pass away, and Tanjiro would accept. Another 3 years would pass, and Tanjiro, now a 10-year-old boy, is chopping wood for his family. He would get home and be greeted by some sad faces. Realizing what had happened, Tanjiro would rush into the house to be met with his deceased father laying in front of him. They would bury him and hold a kind of memorial for him. Tanjiro would keep his head up and said that the Lord would be with him. He would help his family out and get them kind of out of the depression by getting them gifts which he would work hard for to get, both at the church and by selling charcoal and other goodies and just being with them in general. After 4 years, Tanjiro's brother would look up to him as a kind of father figure. One winter morning, Tanjiro would prepare some charcoal as his mother would come out to say, "Do you have everything?" Tanjiro would reply with, "Yeah, I've got everything." His little brother and sister would come up to him and ask if they could join him. And this makes Tanjiro's mother say, "You guys can't go with him. You can't walk as fast as Tanjiro, and he can't carry you with the sled." The two kids would be sad but accept it. This is when a slightly older brother would come up to Tanjiro and ask him if they are still gonna chop wood together after he gets back. Tanjiro replies with that it's gonna be late at night when I get back, so maybe tomorrow. This makes the younger brother sad, who says, "But tomorrow is Christmas." Tanjiro would simply pat his head, which would make the brother blush. As he's about to leave, a girl would come up to him with a kid on her back. Tanjiro would say, "Hey Nezuko," as she would tell him to shush. He would apologize and she would say, "You nearly woke him up. It was already difficult enough to get him to sleep. You know how much he loves you and that he doesn't want you to go." Tanjiro would simply pat the kid's head, which would put a smile on the kid's face. Tanjiro would look at Nezuko and say that he is gonna get her a gift for Christmas with the extra money he makes. She would say that it isn't necessary and that he already does so much for them and that he should get himself something. He goes against it, saying that he already has everything he needs. He leaves and makes his descent down the mountain. He would arrive at the village where he would sell some charcoal and help out the people with their overall problems. He would buy Nezuko a kimono as a Christmas gift. Shortly after this, he would have nearly sold the charcoal, and he would have made more than enough money, so he decides to go to the church to hand them some charcoal as a charity gift. Upon arriving at the church, night would hit. Tanjiro would enter the church to be greeted by a bunch of orphans, and the priest that thought Tanjiro, he would give the remaining bit of charcoal to the priest, and he would play with the kids a bit. After an hour or so, Tanjiro would want to head out again, but the priest stopped him, saying that it's too dangerous to traverse the mountain at night, and that he should stay so he can eat and rest up, proposing that he should go in the morning. Tanjiro would agree and he would eat together with the orphanage kids. He would thank the priest for the food, and the priest would show Tanjiro a spare room in the orphanage, and he would lay out a futon for Tanjiro. That night, Tanjiro wouldn't be able to sleep properly, as he would be in a semi-nightmare phase. He would constantly hear these voices saying, "They need you, Tanjiro. Your fam needs you." He would wake up early that morning and would decide to head out, saying his goodbyes to the priest and orphan kids. Half an hour later, Tanjiro would smell blood when he would be close to his house, as he would rush towards his house just to be met with the horrible scene of his family being massacred. A bloody and near-death Nezuko would still be alive, as Tanjiro decides to rush down the mountain with her to get her to a doctor. About halfway down the mountain, Nezuko would start growing and gaining muscle, as she would attack Tanjiro, making them both fall down the cliffside. On their way down, they would both hit their heads against a tree branch, making them both pass out. Tanjiro is having a dream where he sees his mom, Ki, and his brothers and sisters. They all tell him to get up and protect Nezuko, but Tanjiro can't move as he just feels a crushing weight on his shoulder, which doesn't allow him to move. His family slowly starts fading away in the darkness as Tanjiro can no longer hear their words. All of a sudden, a bright light appears, and a deep voice starts speaking as the voice says,
"Arise, champion, and fight for me."
Tanjiro would all of a sudden get a burst of strength, as he would feel that someone is about to hurt his sister. He gets up and deflects this person's katana as Giyu looks on in shock at how fast Tanjiro reacted to him. Tanjiro, still with his eyes closed, would face towards Giyu, and when he opened his eyes, he would have these white crosses all of a sudden engraved in his eyes. His crimson eyes, as he would tell Giyu to not touch his sister. Giyu would contradict this, saying that that thing isn't your sister anymore, that's a demon and you have to exorcise it, or it will kill humans. Tanjiro would say that he wouldn't let her hurt a single human, and this is when Giyu takes Nezuko in a flash. Tanjiro, instead of bowing, would tell Giyu to hand her back. Now, Giyu would tell Tanjiro to fight. This is when two crosses in Tanjiro's eyes would start to expand and cover his face, as the lights kind of make a crusader helmet on his face. Giyu would think that Tanjiro is a demon. Now, Tanjiro would summon a sword and rush Giyu. Tanjiro still uses his tricks because he isn't skilled with fighting, especially not with swords, and Giyu still knocks him out. Nezuko would wake up now and see that Giyu hurt Tanjiro, as she would kick Giyu away and go into a protective stance over Tanjiro. As these angel wings would sprout out of her back, she would say, "I won't let you hurt Tanjiro." This makes Giyu reconsider, and he decides to send Tanjiro and Nezuko to Urokodaki, which Tanjiro wants to go since he wants to get stronger. They would first head to the church on their way, and everyone would look at Nezuko, who would now also have a halo above her head. As they would enter the church, the priest would bow down before the two. Tanjiro would be confused by this, but the priest would say that Tanjiro has the mark of God's champion in his eyes, and Nezuko is an angel. This would confuse Tanjiro and Nezuko. Now Tanjiro decides to fill the priest in on what happened, and this leads to them getting a few books from the priest to help them in their journey of unlocking their power. Tanjiro and Nezuko would start heading out, but Nezuko decides that walking is too slow as she would pick up Tanjiro and they fly towards Mount Sokonji. Night would hit and they decide to stop at a nearby mountain. They would stop and this is when they find a demon who's eating these monks. The demon rushes Tanjiro and Nezuko, and this is when Tanjiro summons a deagle and fires a holy bullet. He shoots off the demon's arm, and this pisses off the demon who goes after Tanjiro. The demon would try to attack Tanjiro, but this is when Nezuko slashes off its head with her halo, killing it by turning it into ash, similarly to how the Demon Slayer's swords work. Tanjiro spends the rest of the night burying the dead, and this is when Urokodaki comes to find out what happened. He takes both of them to his mountain, and this is when he decides to teach both of them water-breathing arts. And he also wants to help Nezuko unlock her powers, as he knows that she isn't a demon but can't believe that she is an angel. Now, Tanjiro would of course get the trial, and he would actually make it down the mountain. Fast, but not super fast. He would get there way before sunrise though. This makes Urokodaki think that he has found a good student. The training starts like in canon, but instead of Tanjiro learning the basics from Urokodaki in 6 months, he learns them in about 4. This is when Urokodaki shows Tanjiro the massive rock that he has to cut. Now the rock is just a bit bigger than in the show, and that's because Urokodaki thinks that Tanjiro can do it. Tanjiro spends about 8 more months mastering his water breathing, which he nearly mastered the form, but this is when a boy named Sabito challenges Tanjiro. They seem pretty even, but Sabito still wins. A little girl by the name of Makomo shows Tanjiro all of his flaws, and this ends up helping Tanjiro quite a huge bit, as he would master water breathing within the next month. He wouldn't challenge Sabito yet, but he actually remembered Himokami Kagura, and he would decide to master that too, which he does in about 6 more months. Not fully mastered where he can make like his own moves, but just mastered the normal styles. In the remaining 6 months, Tanjiro would try to learn his bread boy powers, that's what we're calling it, as he would learn that he can summon weapons. He would also learn that he can switch between Crusader mode and his normal state, which Crusader mode just seems to boost his power by like 10 times, but he doesn't use it a lot. He also improves his aim in this time, not by a lot, but he does get a hang of it. And he figured out fire and water magic quite easy, and he even dabbled in lightning. Anyway, Tanjiro would challenge Sabito, and it's clear to see who would win, as Tanjiro would actually use a new water breathing technique. When Tanjiro enters his Crusader mode, he can use a few new attacks for both his Himokami Kagura and his water breathing. The attack that Tanjiro used was the 13th form of water breathing, called Sea Bottom Slash Water, which made a small canyon behind the rock because of the sheer force. Upon showing Urokodaki this, he would be stunned and would allow Tanjiro to partake in the final selection. Tanjiro would actually hear that Nezuko would have mastered water breathing and her angel abilities, which, guys, I'm gonna leave that up to you what her abilities are. Make sure to post that down in the comments. Anyway, Tanjiro would teleport back to his hometown village and would visit the church. He would return to the books saying that they were a great help. He would also ask the priest if they had any crucifix necklaces or rosaries. The priest would come back with both, and Tanjiro would start wearing a crucifix necklace, and he would attach the rosary at his wrist. This would boost him even more in power. Tanjiro would teleport back to Urokodaki's house, and he would talk with Urokodaki. Now Urokodaki would want to see this new 13th form, and Tanjiro would show him a less bigger scale of power. He wouldn't show the 12th form yet, since he can't really control that form yet. He does explain the form though, as he says that it will disturb the body's blood flow and cause for an explosion inside the body. Now Urokodaki would say that Tanjiro's water breathing would look weird. This is when Nezuko would come out and say, "Holy water breathing." This would make Urokodaki and Tanjiro look on confused. As Nezuko would stand there with white glowing eyes, she would say, "Every move that God's champion has is considered holy." This makes Urokodaki and Tanjiro just look on more confused, as Nezuko would pass out for just a second. She would stand back up and she can only explain that she has a sharp pain in her head. Tanjiro decides to test out a theory he has. Instead of saying water breathing first form, he says holy water breathing second form water wheel. As he does it, almost looks like a tsunami hit the target, as this confirms Tanjiro's suspicion that he is way stronger when he calls out the true name of his attack. That night, they have a feast, and Urokodaki gives both Tanjiro and Nezuko a mask to wear. And Tanjiro would get a similar outfit to Urokodaki's. Tanjiro and Nezuko would actually enter the final selection together, and Nezuko would be able to retract her wings to hide her and her halo, to hide them of course, and she does cover her face too. The two start final selection where they basically just easily beat all the demons. This is when Nezuko sees a big abomination of a demon, which is about to hurt a boy with yellow hair. As she steps in protecting the boy, she says, "Are you alright?" to him. The boy with yellow hair says yes, as he just looks on amazed. Tanjiro will tell him to run and that they have got this. The boy does as Tanjiro tells him and runs away. Now, Nezuko would have a fox mask just like Tanjiro. This would make the demon point out the mask and explain that he killed every single one of Urokodaki's students. Now, this would make Tanjiro mad, who would activate his Crusader mode, as he would rush the demon, blitzing it for just a small second, as he says, "Holy water breathing." The demon would explode into a pile of blood and turn to ash pretty quickly. Now, Tanjiro would look at Nezuko and the two decide to continue. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm gonna leave it off. If you guys want more of this what if, then let's hit the like goal of 30 likes. I know we can do it, and also if you haven't already, go check out the Bread Boys channel, link in the description. Make sure to join the Discord too, so you can vote on this what if. And with that out of the way, I think we're done here. Peace out. Subscribe for more!